Welcome everyone, and thanks for joining me for another edition of Just United. Last Sunday saw Manchester United miss the chance to go 10 points clear of Liverpool after losing 3-0 to Everton at Goodison Park, which made it 3 consecutive seasons in which Everton have won this fixture. Obviously last season it ended 2-0 to Everton, which saw the end of David Moyes' career at Manchester United. Everton simply got it right on the day, whereas Manchester United didn't. Okay, we did well in possession, but we failed to do anything with that possession. Even Van Gaal came out and said after the game that he knew his players weren't up for it. Their attitude was all wrong heading into the game. He knew by watching the players in their warm-up before the game even kicked off. What happened to that mentality from a couple of weeks ago where United were treating every game till the end of the season as a cup final? It just wasn't there. It was slightly there against Chelsea the previous week at Stamford Bridge, but it just wasn't there against Everton. We just didn't turn up, and it's all very well saying it was just a bad day at the office, but you know, if Liverpool had beaten West Brom on the same weekend and had beaten Hull on the Tuesday evening, we would be in such a race then for that Champions League spot, because they would have closed that gap. United always seem to make things difficult for themselves, wherever it is, in the Champions League, the Premier League, the FA Cup, wherever. Always making things difficult for themselves. We are very fortunate that Liverpool went on to slip up on Tuesday evening against Hull. We do still have that 7-point advantage over them. Just got to make sure that we win our next 2 games. Do that and we've got Champions League for next season. There's certainly no time to be sitting on our laurels now thinking that the season's over, because it's far from over. 4 games, a lot can happen in 4 games, and United have got to concentrate and they've got to pick up those 3 points. We can't afford to lose against West Brom and just hope that Liverpool slip up again. We can't afford to do that. Just finish the season on a high. Win our last 4 games. I think we can do it, although that game against Arsenal at Old Trafford may prove to be a bit tricky. But again, all we've got to do is win our next 2 games. West Brom, Palace, it's totally doable. So anyway, I'm going off track here. Going back to the Everton game, those 3 goals were totally avoidable for Manchester United. We did slip up majorly at the back. As soon as that first goal went in from McCarthy, I just thought, yeah, we're in for a terrible game here. It's going to be very difficult. Everton have turned up today. Rooney, Fellaini, don't get me started on them. They were redundant in this game at Goodison Park. You know, being former Everton players, I totally understand, you know, going back to their old stomping ground and everything, but Rooney's been at United now for over 10 years. Why he still, when he goes to Everton, why he's still not performing at Goodison Park, I don't know. And Fellaini, I think in the future, when it comes to playing Everton, I think Van Gaal, or whoever the next manager after Van Gaal is, I think they need to take Fellaini and Rooney out of the team. Because Rooney being captain and everything, I doubt he managed to deliver a message over to the players before the game like he's done in other games this season, especially that one against Man City. We all heard that he delivered a good message to the players, a good team talk and everything, which got them raring to go, but I doubt he did any of that against Everton. It's almost as if Rooney is scared to play against his former side, almost as if he's scared to put in a professional performance against them. You know, I mean, that game against Chelsea, Rooney was brilliant. Okay, he didn't score, but he came close a couple of times, but he was there in the team and he was putting in a performance. Whereas whenever we come up against Everton, he never does it. If you sit for the whole 90 minutes and you watch Rooney, what he does against Everton, he doesn't do anything. He hardly touches the ball. He's walking around. His head's not in the game. And for Fellaini, last Sunday, every time he would get a touch on the ball, the Everton crowd would absolutely drown Goodison Park with boos. And that's why I think Van Gaal took him off at the interval. Yes, okay, he was on a yellow card, and yes, he was very persistent in his challenges and wasn't holding up, he wasn't keeping his composure. But I think there was more to it. I think the crowd were really getting to Fellaini, and so maybe he asked to be taken off. Of course, we'll never be privy to those type of details, but I definitely think there was more to it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Should Wayne Rooney and Marouane Fellaini be left out of this same fixture next season? Everton, I thought, did pretty well, especially when it came to defending. And for the majority of the season, Everton's defence hasn't really been up to scratch, scarring their campaign this season in the Premier League. Whereas on Sunday, they were combative, they were diligent at the back, and they were very rapid on the counter. And the perfect example of that was within the first 5 minutes where the first goal was scored. Ross Barkley, Seamus Coleman and James McCarthy, the goal scorer. It was almost breathtaking how quickly they got that ball in that final third, how they got it past De Gea. The loss of Michael Carrick has been and was detrimental to our last 2 games. You know, we could have done with him in that game against Chelsea. We could have done with him in that game against Everton on Sunday. It just goes to show how important a player like Carrick is, how important he is. And I think maybe Van Gaal needs to be looking in the summer to bring in a player very much like Michael Carrick, his type of style and how he works and pulls those strings in central midfield. I know there's been a lot of talk about bringing in Gundogan for next season from Dortmund. I think that'd be a quality signing if he's fit, if he doesn't have injury, and he could very well be Michael Carrick's successor when he decides it's time to hang up his boots. I'm not going to be going into too much transfer talk. I'll probably do a separate video for that, maybe at the end of the season, giving my thoughts and opinions on who Van Gaal should maybe go after, who I would like to see at United. Maybe I'll get a guest on the show to come and chat United and we can discuss transfers and what to expect of the team next season. So, all in all, it was a disappointing day on Sunday against Everton. It was, you know, going by our recent form, it was a game that we could have won, we should have won. But I suppose this is football. This has been the story of this season's Premier League. So unpredictable, a bit like the 2014 World Cup. You just don't know what's going to happen. I mean, last night, Chelsea, they beat Leicester 3-1. They've got 80 points to their name now, but you look at the teams below them. They're still hanging back on 60-odd points. Unbelievable, Jeff. I do think next season, though, this time next season, I think it will be a different story. So anyway, turning our attention to Saturday's game against West Brom at Old Trafford, I do think it'll be a different story. I think we will go full out attack. I think we'll have many chances. We've got Robin van Persie, who was very impressive in the under-21 games against Fulham. He got 2 goals to his name, so maybe Van Persie could find a way into the starting 11 in place of Falcao, who didn't really perform against Everton. Yes, he managed to find the back of the net, but it was offside in that game. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if Van Gaal decides to go with Van Persie over Falcao this Saturday against the Baggers. Now, speaking of the Baggers, things have been going well for them recently. They drew on the weekend, as we know, against Liverpool. And Tony Pulis, I think he's done a decent job since coming in. I mean, they were looking very desperate earlier in the season with former manager Alan Irvine. Now they're in 13th. They're 7 points clear of the drop zone. I think they're safe, although I think it's still possible for them to go down. I don't see it happening personally. Even if they are to go on this Saturday and lose against United, I think they're safe. I think they'll be okay now. Pulis has done a good job to get them out of that ditch that they found themselves in earlier in the season, and that's what Pulis does best. And how about that win for Pulis on his return to Selhurst Park a couple of weeks ago against Palace, where the Baggies beat them 2-0. I mean, it's a bit of a smash and grab win for them. I mean, they only had 38% possession for the whole 90 minutes. And I know it's not all about having possession, it's about the amount of chances that you create, but West Brom, they didn't really create many chances. They only have 4 shots on target in that game. The Baggies showed that they are resilient. They can be resilient when they want to be. They can hold their concentration for the full 90 minutes. They don't just trail off after grabbing a goal or two. And they did well to get those 2 goals after coming up against such an informed side of Crystal Palace. So we've got that to look forward to this Saturday evening at Old Trafford. And finally, for my prediction for United's lineup this Saturday, in goal, I'm going to go with David De Gea, of course. At right back, Antonio Valencia. My two centre-halves will be Chris Smalling and Paddy McNair. If Jones is available, though, I would definitely go with Jones instead of Paddy McNair. We need to have our wits about us on Saturday. At left back, Luke Shaw. In that central defensive mid role, just in support of the back four, I would go with Daley Blind. I don't see Michael Carrick returning for this game against West Brom. The two centre mids, Fellaini and Ander Herrera. On the flanks, I would go with Ashley Young, who's been phenomenal. On the right, Juan Mata, and up front, on his own, captain Wayne Rooney. Again, it all depends whether Van Gaal was annoyed with Blind. Maybe Shaw isn't fit for the game. If Shaw isn't fit for the game, then I can see Blind fitting in at left back. Rooney will then drop into that central defensive mid role probably, and push slightly higher. And Van Persie will take that role up front. So as you can see, that is my prediction for United's starting lineup to take on West Brom this Saturday. So there we have it. That is the end of this week's edition of Just United. I hope that you've all enjoyed. If you did, be sure to smash that like button. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. And did you know you can follow me on both Facebook and Twitter? The links can be found in the description below. That's it from me then, guys. Thanks for watching.